All right, boys and girls, welcome back to the drive-through. Hope everyone's having a wonderful Monday as we start this chapter 5. It's brought to you by the deli. Hungry? Stop by the deli and get yourself some white chicken chili. It's right in the back of the room. As I take the lid off, you guys are going to get so jealous. Did you just cover your mouth and nose? Does it make you sick, the smell of my cooking? Okay, good. Good. All right, so essentially, except for the imaginary numbers, every single lesson we've done so far has been from your Algebra 1 book. It's also in your Algebra 2 book, but everything we've done up to now is from Algebra 1. It's normal to review, so it's not like we're just reviewing with you guys. Every student reviews that much Algebra 1. There's that much overlap because the systems of equations, the quadratics, it's hard. It's important, so we want to review it with you guys. Plus, think about it. When you learned those things, you were 14 or 15 years old, and you've just become so much more mature that maybe you're able to actually understand, okay, this is something I can do. So that's why we review so much. This is essentially where college algebra begins. So college algebra is the first or the lowest class offered in college, most colleges. And it's what happens when we have things that are bigger than x squared. That's essentially where it begins. Okay? Does that make sense? So we're going to start off by just connecting it by some things we feel comfortable with. And it's right here from this board. So if we had the equation y equals 3x plus 2, okay? First of all, I'll tell you some things about it. This is called a binomial. It's called a binomial. We'll get to that later in the video. Don't worry about it, okay? Now, this is also called a linear equation. And I think you guys have a really good grasp on it. Why is it called linear equation? Because the graph of it is a line that looks like that. Does that make sense? Okay, and then what we've really been doing in here for the past month is something that looks like y equals, oh, I don't know, let's say 3x squared plus 2x minus 10. That is called a trinomial. We'll get to that. Don't worry about it. A trinomial. Okay? It's called a quadratic function. And its graphs all look like this. So far, so good? Okay? Okay? Well, this is now going to be called a cubic function. Psych, I just put that in the totally wrong spot. This is a cubic function. Anyone know what kind of nomial you've got in front of there? Okay, it is a polynomial. Now, this is a great answer. Thank you for saying it that way. You remember what polygons were? It was like any shape. Every shape that's made up of segments is a polygon. So then there were types of polygon. What's a three-sided polygon? And a four-sided polygon. Okay? These are all polynomials. So you are correct, Haven. But what is another name for this polynomial that has 4 terms? What do you think? Very good, Will. A quadrinomial. It's not important to me. that you can spell it right, that if you called it a quadronial instead of quadrinomial, that would be totally awesome. What's important to me is that you don't get intimidated by these terms, and you see that they're just these Latin prefixes, tri, quad, like a quadrilateral, you know? Okay? What's a five-sided figure called? A pentagon. So what do you think of 5 terms, which we're not even going to write down, but what do you think that's called? That's just a pentanomial. Okay? Now, there's a little trick to these graphs. It's a really important one. What were the most amount of times that a line could hit the x-axis? A line. Just once. Okay? Unless it hit it an infinite amount of times, like that was the actual line. What was the most amount of times a parabola could hit the x-axis? Twice. So check this out. This pink curve is going to hit it. No, not 4. Look, there's a 1 here. There's a 2 here. Good job. So it'll look like this. How about that? Okay? Yeah, it's about ready to get, it's going to get a little bit tougher in here for the next quarter. You can handle it. I'm telling you, you're ready for this. Okay? And then the last example we'll do is y equals x to the 4th plus, how about minus 3x? I'm just going to leave it like that. So there is no x cubed term, there's no x squared term, there's no numerical term. Anyone have an idea what kind of nomial this is? I love the quintinomial guess, but it's actually just a binomial. But you followed the pattern well. You followed the pattern well. It's a binomial because there's only 2 terms. Now, this isn't even I didn't even know what this is called. I had to look it up in the book, so I don't think what I'm about ready to write down is important at all. But it's called a quartic. Q-U-A-R-T-I-C, a quartic. Don't worry about that. And what do you think is going to be true about a quartic? It's very good, Jameson. It's going to hit 4 times. Okay? Okay. So, monomials. Do you recognize the word mono and poly? Give me some examples. Non-math. No, what are some other words? Monogamy, and what's the opposite of monogamy? Polygamy, and what does that mean? Monogamy is having one partner in your life, and monogamy is having multiple wives or multiple husbands or multiple partners. No, it's just too much craziness, and I truly love my wife. I mean, enough that I don't need anyone else, I think. Okay? I don't think it would work out best. What else? Let's get off the monogamy and polygamy for a second. Monopoly. What's monopoly mean? One business is the only business in that business. Okay? We already talked about polygons. That's good. So monomials. 5 is a monomial. 7x squared is a monomial. Okay? 3xy z to the 10th q. That's still a monomial. Now this one's going to throw you off. That's right, Alex. They are the same. They are like terms. So what is 5x minus 2x? And 3x is indeed. So we have to be ready for these types. They're going to hide them. They're going to try to trick you. Don't let them do it. Okay? All right, so now let's look at some polynomials. Okay? And that is a binomial. Remember, a binomial is a type of polynomial, just like a triangle is a type of polygon. Yes, it's just a check mark. Sorry. All right, some more polynomials. That's a polynomial. What kind of polynomial is that? A trinomial. When did you get back, Abby, last night? Tired? I'm so sorry that I didn't remember that you were gone. How about... Now, that's a polynomial, but you don't know what it is yet. You got to FOIL it. 10x squared plus, outside, plus minus 5x inside, plus 12x last, minus 6. These are the same term, so you can combine them. 10x squared plus 7x minus 6. This is a trinomial. Okay? All right. Just a bunch of words today. We haven't even done any math yet. We're almost done. I think we have 2 more slides. Okay? This slide is just some rules. So, you have to write these things in standard form so that you can judge it. So, for example, if you had y equals 6 minus 2x plus x squared, you would want to rewrite that as y equals x squared minus 2x plus 6. Now you can identify it by its highest power. Its highest power is a 2, so this thing is going to be a parabola. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? So, that's just what this is explaining down here. While it is not nice to judge people or call them names, it is fine to do that by polynomials. They're not people. Just make sure that you put it in standard form first so that you can judge it. Right. We're only judging polynomials in this room. That's right. Well, you got to go to Alex. I feel like you just judged Alex, Haven. Okay, good. Good. And did you hear me? Good. I was just making sure too. Perfect. Perfect. We're all on the same page. And you can't judge a book by its cover, but you can usually tell whether or not you want to read it. That's why they spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on the covers of books. But don't worry about it. It's just one of those things that they say that they don't really mean. Just like practice makes perfect. That's wrong too. Practice makes permanent. Well, it's kind of the same thing. All right, here we go. So there's going to be this section in your homework that describes the end behavior. And in my mind, there are only 4 possible results. So I want you to look back to this screen for a second. What we're going to do is we're going to look at the highest power on our first term. Are you guys good with odds and evens? So look, this 1 is odd, right? This 2 is even. This 3 is odd. This 4 is even. Notice that when they are odd, it either starts low and goes high. See this one? It starts low, it goes high, it gets back down, but then it goes high again. Or it starts high and goes low. Does that make sense? So if I did the inverse of this one, if I made it negative, well then it would start high and end low. Do you see how these two are opposites just by a negative sign? So you really only have 4 options here. Here's how we are going to describe them. Starts low, ends high. Starts high, ends low. Starts high, ends high. So what do you think the 4th option is? Starts low, ends low. So an upside down parabola. Or, if it has to be this way, maybe even instead of a W, what will it look like? An M. But notice, it's still either starts high, ends high, or starts low, ends low. Does that make sense? So, we're going to have this little chart to help us. I think it should make sense. Okay, so here's how you read this. This is important. You got to see over here. There's a plus, and there's a minus. You see it? So, an example of an odd, we'll give you a couple of examples. Y equals negative 3x, oh no, this is positive. This is positive. Y equals 3x minus 2. Y equals 5x cubed minus 2x squared minus 3x plus 1. Both of those are positive because in front of the first term there's nothing. And what does nothing indicate? A positive. Does that make sense? And they are odd because what's the power on the x here? 1. That's odd. What's the power on the x here? 3. So when this is the case, it's always start low, go high. Low to high. Okay? When you have something like y equals negative 3x cubed plus 2x squared minus 5x plus 2, or you even have y equals negative 7x to the 7th plus 3x squared. Now, these are odd, but they are negative. Do you see the difference between this category and this category? So what are these going to look like down here? These are going to start high and get funky and then finish low. So we will call this high to low. Okay? Once you do the homework, I think you'll feel better about this. You haven't even gotten a chance to practice yet. Okay? Now, even ones, these are just some examples. Y equals 3x squared plus 2x minus 12, or y equals 4x to the 8th minus 6x cubed plus 2. Those are positive and even. So what are we going to call those? High to high. And finally, y equals negative 6x to the 4th minus 5x cubed plus 2, or y equals negative 3x squared minus 7x plus 13. These are negative, And they are even. Why are they even? Again, because the highest power exponent is even, and these are going to be start low, end low. So we'll call it low to low. And that is your notes for today. Boom!